I'd been renting strange houses for years, quiet places outside cities, isolated enough to focus, cheap enough not to ask questions. It was part of my job. I was a contract transcriptionist for legal firms, taking on sensitive audio cases they didn't want stored on cloud drives. That meant NDAs, long hours, and one simple requirement: absolute privacy. So when the listing popped up on a forum I frequented, Country Home, $250/week, no questions asked, one tenant only, I didn't hesitate. The photos were odd. Grainy. Every angle was just slightly off, like the person taking them didn't know how a house should look. A chair facing a wall. A mirror behind the bed. A staircase with too many steps. But the price. God, the price. I emailed the contact. No name, no agency. Just an address and a PayPal link. When I sent the payment, I got one message in return: keys under frog. Do not knock. Do not leave the house after sunset. I should have stopped there. I should have laughed, told myself it was some LARPing weirdo, and moved on. But my rent in the city was overdue, my savings were gone, and my next client needed 93 hours of wiretapped audio transcribed by the 10th. So I packed a bag, loaded up my old Mazda, and drove 3 hours north into the mountains. The house was real. Worse, it was familiar. It sat half-hidden in a clearing off a one-lane road, surrounded by trees that leaned just a bit too close. It had peeling gray wood siding, shuttered windows, and a porch that sagged on one side like a mouth mid-frown. But what struck me wasn't the house itself. It was the certainty that I'd seen it before. Not in a dream. Not in a movie. In a memory. One I couldn't place, but that made my stomach twist. I stepped out of the car. The air was too still. No wind. No birds. No sound except the soft crunch of gravel under my boots. I followed the dirt path to the porch. A cracked ceramic frog sat beside the welcome mat. Beneath it, a large brass key. I looked at the front door. Do not knock. I inserted the key and turned it slowly. The door creaked open into darkness. Inside, the house smelled like wood smoke and something faintly sweet, like fruit that had gone just slightly rotten. The entryway was small and narrow. To the left, a staircase led upward. To the right, a hallway stretched into dimness. Straight ahead, the living room. Everything was old but clean. Worn rugs. A floral couch. Shelves lined with books that hadn't been opened in decades. A small fireplace with blackened stone. But something felt wrong. The silence was too complete. No hum of appliances. No creaking floorboards. It was like walking into a soundproof box. I shook it off. Paranoia. It was just a weird house. I'd stayed in plenty. I brought in my laptop, headphones, notebooks, and gear, set up a small desk near the window, and started unpacking. That's when I noticed the walls. They weren't straight. Not quite. The corners of the room seemed just a little off, like the angles didn't add up. At first, I blamed the old construction. But the longer I looked, the more wrong it seemed. Like the room was wider on the inside than the outside should allow. I set up anyway. That first night, I worked until sunset. As soon as the light began to die, I closed the windows, locked the doors, and sat by the fireplace with a bowl of noodles and my notes. Outside, the forest was pitch black. There were no stars. No moon. Just an impossibly dark nothing. And that's when I heard it. From upstairs. A voice. Whispering. I froze, holding my breath. It was faint. But it was there. A dry, hushed voice like someone trying to speak through cracked lips. I stared at the ceiling. No footsteps. No creaking. Just whispers. I stood, slowly, and tiptoed to the stairs. I didn't go up. I just listened. The voice continued, unintelligible but constant. I looked around. There were no lights upstairs. Not a single bulb. Just empty sockets and bare wires. Still, I climbed. 1 step. 2. 10. At the top, I turned toward the source. The whispering stopped. The hallway was narrow and long. At the end, a closed door. I didn't remember seeing it in the house photos. But it was there now. I walked toward it. Each step was slower than the last. I pressed my ear against the wood. Nothing. Then. A whisper. Right next to my ear. Don't leave. I stumbled back. My foot caught the rug and I fell hard onto the hallway floor. My heart was pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. The door was still closed. I didn't open it. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, the voice was gone. I convinced myself it had been a dream, maybe stress, maybe the isolation. I had work to do. 93 hours of audio from a federal case. Surveillance tape. Recorded phone calls. Wire bugs. That morning's file was labeled. Case 9A, the Kinski cabin. My blood ran cold. I opened the file. The first voice crackled through. We believe the structure was built in 1911. No town records. It's moved locations 3 times since 1980. Never by vehicle. Never by hand. I paused the audio. I searched the case index. There were no photos. Just a transcript from a 1998 agent's field report. Subject house was found in upstate Vermont. The same one previously reported in Arizona, Oregon, and British Columbia. The interior is non-Euclidean. Occupants report changes in geometry, sounds without source, and persistent whispering after nightfall. The house appears to reject more than one inhabitant. Attempts to monitor it externally have failed. I stared at the screen. Then I looked around the room. The angles. The whispering. The door that wasn't there yesterday. I slammed the laptop shut. I wanted to leave. Pack up. Get out. But. Do not leave the house after sunset.